nations to end the persecution of Coptic Christians in Egypt. And 3, to strongly urge the Egyptian government to provide equal rights and protection for all Egyptian citizens, regardless of race or religion. That motion was passed unanimously by every single member of the House of Representatives on the 13th of October. So we'd like to thank Mr. Kelly for his support and for the wonderful achievement and what he's done for our community. Please make him feel welcome.
Thank you, Monica, and good afternoon, everyone. Bishop Suriel, the Honourable Tony Abbott, the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Philip Ruddock, the Honourable Scott Morrison, the Honourable Connie Fierravanti Wells, better known to all supporters of the Coptic community as Connie, David Clark, the Honourable David Clark, and the Honourable Fred Nile. Thank you for your attendance here today. I've only been a member of our great Australian Federal Parliament for just over 12 months. And I promised myself that I would make every day count and stand up for injustice wherever I saw it. Before I'd entered Parliament, I'd made many trips to the Middle East, and I'd worked there for many years, and I understood the plight of the Coptic people in Egypt and throughout other Egyptian areas and throughout the Middle East. Now, what I'd like to do, I was greatly pleased to be able to submit my very first private member's motion in support of the Coptic people and to bring recognition of the persecution that is currently going on. And I'd like to thank all my parliamentary colleagues for their support in passing that motion unanimously in our House of Representatives. And I'd like to read to you a few words from a speech that I gave immediately after the motion was passed. These words are now in our parliamentary Hansard and will be there forever. I said, "This motion just passed could not have been more timely, as it comes days after we saw the shocking military violence against the Coptic Christians in Egypt. During our recent debate, we noticed that it was only on the 1st of January this year that a bomb was detonated in front of a Coptic church, the Two Saints Church in Alexandria, killing 23 people and injuring more than 97. We also noted that this was the most deadly act against Egypt's Coptic community for more than a decade. However, it is very sad to say that the latest attacks have left 24 Coptic dead and over 270 injured. And what we have seen on video of these recent events is armoured military vehicles driving at high speed, ploughing into unarmed Christian protesters. For members of the House who have not seen these videos, although they are graphic and horrific, I suggest that you do, to understand the gravity of the situation. Medical staff at Cairo's hospital have told Amnesty International that the casualties resulted from bullet wounds and crushed body parts, resulting from people being deliberately run over by army vehicles. A young Christian, Vivian Magdi, whose fiancé was killed when an armoured vehicle ran over him, gave a tearful account to Egyptian TV, and she said, and I quote, "His body was in the middle of the wheels. His legs were torn. His head hit the pavement, breaking his skull. Soldiers gathered him up and started to beat him up. I begged them to leave." She told the soldiers that she was not breathing, and then she continued her account. "A soldier then came up to me with a red cap on, shouting, cursing, and hitting me. And he tried to beat him up further. I threw my body over to protect my fiancé, and the soldier said to me, 'You infidel, why are you here?'" Let us be clear here today. When military forces open fire on unarmed civilians and drive armoured vehicles at high speeds into crowds that kill at least 25, It's not only murder, it is mass murder. And the Egyptian state television authorities must accept some responsibility for this recent violence. They are the ones who put a call out over Egyptian TV, calling on so-called honest Egyptians to rush to the defence of the military, which resulted in further vigilante attacks against peaceful Coptic protesters. The fate of Egypt will be determined by how the Christian minority are treated in that country in the future. The situation could not be more serious for not only Egypt, but for the entire world. The Coptic Christians are the largest non-Muslim minority in the Middle East, and the Copts have been the intellectual entrepreneurs in Egypt, and that country will only continue to decline as long as the attacks on the Copts continue. We've already seen this year the collapse of the Egyptian tourist industry, and since January, the Egyptian share market has collapsed 45% in value, pushing the country to the abyss. Growing hunger in the streets is a reality, and this latest piece of madness has pushed the country to the edge. This only risks people becoming more radicalised and pushing Egypt and the entire Middle East into a downward spiral. Now is not the time for silence or appeasement from the international community, for as the Copts go, so may the entire Middle East. If a Christian minority cannot live in a country with a Muslim majority population without suffering, persecution and institutionalised discrimination, our future looks bleak. However, calls by world leaders after latest atrocities merely for restraint from both sides naively fails to understand the situation. The Coptic Christians in Egypt do not have a militia ready to engage the military. The moderate voices in Egypt must be put on notice in the strongest terms to root out any anti-Christian element in the army and to give equal rights to all Coptic Christians and end their persecution. To our US allies, who generally support the military in Egypt, the Americans should be giving a warning to the moderate Egyptian voices that if they fail to protect the Christian minority, their military aid will be cut back. Religious extremism has no place in any society in our modern world, including Egypt. I concluded. I thank all members of the House for supporting this motion, as it sends an urgent message to Cairo that to persist on the present course is to court catastrophe. It will also greatly galvanise much needed broader international attention to the issue of the looming Egyptian catastrophe, and I thank all members. Those words are in our parliamentary Hansard, and hopefully they will be for as ever as our democracy here in this country lives on. I hope that those words send a message of support to our Coptic friends in Egypt, that we here in Australia understand their plight and are not frightened to stand up and speak out in support of them. This is only a small step. Already we've seen some ripples. The Reverend Nile, to his great credit, has moved exactly the same motion in our New South Wales Parliament here. Congratulations, Reverend Nile. And we're seeing other countries, such as Canada and the UK, also starting to take a louder voice that is needed. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. And I promise, for the rest of the time in Parliament, I'll continue to speak up for the Coptic community. Thank you.